Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala syarafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. Today we are going to discuss about how we're going to approach, for example, all the major psychological problems that we are facing in this world today. And today I'm going to discuss about how we're going to approach, say, depression. Because we can approach many areas of psychological challenges that we face in the 21st century. And as a follow-up to the previous video, we are talking about the unhelpful thinking style and what we face. In terms of how we are going to reframe. Alright? So we have these automatic thoughts and the negative automatic thoughts, and how we're going to make it positive. And this whole process is reframing, bringing from the negative ideation within our mind. For example, like some people, they have this ideation of committing suicide because of depression or because of falling out of love and things like that. So they start thinking about that, or failing in their exams, which is many people are doing, many young people are doing that. Alright, so how to reframe to become positive? So the whole idea is that the unhelpful thinking style, I have given quite detail of how all those unhelpful thinking style is affecting our cognitive sense, in the sense of the negative worldview that we build within ourselves, and the mental model. So this mental model will be our worldview. So how are we going to do that? We have within, for example, if we take depression, we have many situational conditions within depression in the world today. More than 50% of young people now have some sort of depression, alright, because of their relationship, because of their schooling, because of their exams, because of the environmental factor, and so many of these factors. And within CBT, we have our book here, which discuss about, alright, depression. So what are depression? What are the symptoms or signs of depression? For example, we talk about the signs and symptoms of depression: loss or gain of significant amount of weight, you overeat or you undereat, alright? Feeling excessively sleepy or unable to sleep on virtually all day. So sometimes you cannot sleep, sometimes you are sleepy all the time because of the swing, the mood swing that you are facing. Markedly slow down and feeling of sluggishness. Whatever you do, you are sluggish. You don't have the energy to do it. A lack of energy and feeling tired all the time. Experience inappropriate guilt and feeling of worthlessness. You feel that you are worthless, you are no good. Loss of concentration and faces difficulty in making decisions. Even at a job, you tend to not be able to make a good decision and so on. As a factor, as a result, your work performance, your productivity will go down. And then you think about suicide ideation, thinking about death, thinking about leaving this world, and so many other things. So these are examples of depression that you face. So there are many models to tackle depression, and CBT is one of the models. But what is the Islamic approach to this? I am proposing that we have this Islamic psychology SEMP approach, because in our book we talk about spiritual, emotional, mental and physical, and our model we're using the Al-Ghazali model of the Roh, the Qalb, the Akal and the Jasad, and how they interact within the various realm of our existence. So if we look at the SEMP, we have the S, spiritual, the Roh, E, the emotional. We are talking about not only the emotion, the physical heart, we are talking about the Qalb, the inner heart that is linked to your Roh, that is linked to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, then we have this mental. We don't call it mental just in the sense that it is just the brain, but it is the Akal, which interact with your physical brain, your neurotransmitters and all that, together with the higher level of akal kulli. Alright? And then you have this whole idea of the physical, the jasad. So each and every of them will have their realms of impact on your depression. So if we have within CBT, they have this what we call the biopsychosocial model. You have within CBT, they have this their approach will be psycho, social, model. So this is now the prevalent model within psychology in terms of the bio, that means the biological, psycho, the psychological, and the social interaction. But we have a far better and more holistic approach. Our approach will be interacting at the four rims of our existence. The spiritual, the roh, the qalb, the emotional, the akal, the mental, and the physical jasad. So each and every of them, we can split them up, but they are all in holistic and integrative. I'm putting at 4 levels, but actually they are affecting all our depressive state in one area. That means all this is coming together. They are not separate. You cannot separate them. But for the purpose of discussion, I'm giving some breakdown because I can show you the connection. Because, for example, if somebody is going through MDD, major depressive disorder, okay, he or she will have the physical environment, the social economic condition, the genes, how they play in terms of the serotonin transporter, for example, and then the neurotransmitter. They are linked together. Physically, you have the genes. For example, the genes you have, the various kind of genes that affects your mental state. All right. Then you have diet, nutrition, physical activities. All right. Then from the mental aspect, you have less frontal cortex activity, frontal cortex activities. You have imbalance in terms of neurotransmitters activities. You have imbalance in terms of you have a lot of cognitive distortion, all the unhelpful thinking style that I have already mentioned to you in the last 2-3 videos. Then you develop negative mental models. So these are the mental aspect. Then in terms of the spiritual, you have this. In terms of the emotional, you have the social environment, inter and intra-social within our model. You can see in our model, we have explained deeply in our book, Positive Islamic Psychology. All right. Then you have the cultural input, social cultural input. Then you have the loci of control, whether you have an internal locale of control, external locale of control, and within Islam we have the absolute loci of control, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you have your coping style, how you cope with your existence on this earth, whether it is within a framework of a supportive family or not a supportive family, friends, and so on, and how you are facing the situation in terms of how it affects your depressive state. Then you have your self-esteem, and then your co-rumination. Co-rumination in terms of you have friends who are also depressive, and you have friends who are doing this. So you have a negative cycle of friends with friends with friends actually ruminating about the negative things of this situation. So you may start with thinking about yourself, and your friend also thinking about themselves, and then you build a bonding in terms of developing a very negative worldview which is depressive. So how are we going to tackle this? Because this is a model. All right, I call it the approach SEMP approach. So our model is different from the biophysical social model, even though it's linked, because the bio will affect both the physical and the mental. The psycho will affect the psychological, both the emotional, and the social affects all these things also. But we have one more. That is, we have the realm of the spiritual. And so this realm of the spiritual is something that is pertinent for the ummah, for Muslims, and for all human beings. Because as long as you do not go into this realm of the spiritual, you cannot solve the problem of depression. Because you have no meaning and purpose in life if you do not go into the spiritual aspect. For example, you are trying to resolve the situation from biopsychosocial model. The most pertinent question is this existential question. Why am I on earth? Where am I living? What am I going to do on this earth? What is death? Is there anything more? So if you are an atheist, agnostic, you do not have this realm for you to give you a counterbalance. And this is the most important thing within humanity in the 21st century, because we are fed the last 100 years with this whole idea of scientific atheism, materialism, greed, living in the context of just physical satisfaction, sex, pornography, physical enjoyment, food, excessive food, and so on. So we are actually losing that very balance, the very nature of understanding our higher level of consciousness. That means we are going into the lower level of consciousness. So if you are talking about depression, depression is one of the lower level of consciousness. It is at the lowest level of consciousness where you feel like killing yourself. But how are you going to get out of that if you do not have a mechanism. And that mechanism is a spiritual state. So in Islam, we are talking about having purpose and meaning in life, how you build a balanced belief system, connecting with the realm of the spiritual. So you are connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a balanced, nice, useful manner. And then reliance on Allah, tawakkal on Allah. And then we have this benevolent, loving God. So we have this reliance on this benevolent God, who is loving, forgiveness, mercy, compassion, and the 99 names of Allah, all the 99 names of Allah, that we always can use as a means, as a mechanism to approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala using His attributive aspects. So if we have this understanding of a benevolent God, for example, Allah is most benevolent. For Muslims, it's no problem. Each time you say a salah, all right, 5 times a day, each time in every raka'at we say Allahu Akbar, we say the Fatiha, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What does it mean? In the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate. 17 times. But as you read the Fatiha, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. So most merciful, most compassionate. So every day, 34 times you are reading on the mercy, compassion, love and forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time. So you have a beautiful approach in which you understand that whatever suffering that you have, whatever depressive state you are in, whatever situation you are on, you have a benevolent God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's ever reaching out to you, ever giving you help, mercy, protection, love, because He created you when He breathed unto us, our ruh. At the spiritual level, He blew into us His spirit, the roh. So this roh is what differentiates us from the animals. So if you talk about the biopsychosocial model, Alhamdulillah, is good. But if you divorce it from the spiritual, then you are talking about just the emotional aspect within the context of a meaningless life. That means this model is good to a certain extent. We are not saying it's bad. It has a lot of research base and so on. But we have to go further into the understanding of the SEMP model, spiritual, emotional, mental and physical model for all psychological problems. I'm just giving you this idea of depression. And inshallah in the next video, I will go into the details of how this model or this approach can be the wonderful model for the Ummah, for Muslims, because we believe in Allah, we believe in a benevolent Allah, we believe in His mercy, His compassion, His love. And when we are in the state of a major depressive disorder or having a lot of depression in our life, how are we going to use this SEMP approach to overcome our situation, inshallah, and lead a wonderful, peaceful, happy life, blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Always remembering that we are His servant, His Khalifa on this earth. He created us with the spiritual instinct. And He always bless us in the way towards goodness, always, inshallah, striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, making the world good in the way that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I hope as you watch this video, please subscribe to this video as I do this video and spread this beautiful message of positive Islamic psychology to as many friends as possible. Please do it and enjoy whatever I have to say, learn, do some research, and inshallah, you can then be one of those future leaders that can bring this spiritual, emotional, mental model to the world at large, inshallah.